Hello. It's our last pod of 2023. So, of course, I had to bring in my favorite and most convenient guest because I can force him into it, my husband, Stu.
Hello.
So, Stuart, I'm going to pretend that you don't know the new layout of the podcast because you edited the last one, but we're going to start a new little check-in beginning of each of our podcasts before we jump into the episode. So we're going to go through them. I'll answer and then you can answer. Okay. So here are our check-ins. What's new in our lives? What's new for me is so many things. I feel like the last time we talked was closer to Thanksgiving, but what's new for me is this new mindset. I'll do not a physical newness, but the new mindset of this year, this crazy, huge, eventful year that we just had coming to a close, and this new year beginning. That's what's new and on my mind right now. What about you?
What's new with me is yesterday or the day before, we have some chickens. And all of a sudden, I look out there, I see a commotion going on, and I see a humongous hawk just hanging out around the fence, pecking at the chickens and putting its talons through the fence. And I shouted for Shelby. I'm like, look, and I run out there, and this hawk was up to my knee. It was a huge hawk. It was a red-tailed hawk. I was doing everything I could to resolve the situation. I know you're not supposed to hurt any hawks or anything like that, but I was just running at it, banging pots, and it just looked at me.
Did not budge, didn't fly away, didn't flinch. He just stared at us like, really?
I mean,
You think you're going to get me worked up? You're not. He was like less than a foot away from it and it did not budge.
Yeah. I took a hose pipe and sprayed it. It didn't care. It just looked at me.
Didn't care.
And just kept on going at the chickens. So
I think it scratched one of our baby's nose, but Stuart thinks that she pecked it on herself. But
yeah. So that, finally I got it to go away. I got the chickens into the barn real quick. But yeah, anybody who knows how to handle that situation, please leave some comments.
Because that's a new situation for us right now.
That's the only newest thing with me. You know, we had a bunch of family in town for Christmas and had a great time. And looking forward to the new year.
So our next check-in question is, what am I most excited about? I am really excited about, I told you guys last time I'm taking a class, and this, I wouldn't necessarily say it's what I'm most excited about, but it's something that I am excited about. So I'm excited about the new year, obviously. I'm excited, it always feels like a fresh start. That's always something to be excited about. But I'm also really excited about the new level of my class. So I'm leveling up the first week of January, and I'm really excited to see what that has to offer. And it was a cool feeling. They had two classes at the same time, and both of them I'm extremely interested in. And that's just a really nice feeling. That's something to be really excited about when you're like, oh, I want to do both of them so much. Like, being that enthusiastic about something as an adult that's not a necessity is something to be really excited about. So for me, that's something that I'm excited about and looking forward to. What about you?
You're pretty good at it too. No, and I can tell y'all, she when she comes home from that, she has so much energy, and
we come home at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, you can tell she likes it. She's good at it, so I'm happy for her. I guess to kind of be on the same lines, we all try to find our hobbies and what we like to do. And I've been trying to pick up the guitar, so I've been going to lessons for that myself. So just picking up the acoustic guitar and trying to learn. It's not easy. It takes a lot of practice every day. But I'm starting to get the melodies and the chords down. So that's something I look forward to getting better at next year.
And you put in the work and the repetition of stuff like that, which I feel like is the thing that I lack sometimes. Is I could like want to do something so bad, but I just don't put in the work and the repetition of putting in that just 30 minutes every single day of just practicing a skill. And you really have done that and beyond. Like sometimes I think you put in like an hour or so of practice a day, which is awesome. So I can see that and get inspired, and it makes me want to do research and practice my classes and skills just as much too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next thing, what are we excited about? What are we worried about? Ugh, I always hate this one, but I am worried about I mean, you're always the most exciting thing is, or, the thing that you're looking forward to, which to me is like a fresh start, a new year, is also something that I'm worried about. This year was such an eventful year for me. It was the year I got engaged. It was the year I got married. It was the year that, we had family over for pretty much every single holiday. It was the year that we went out of the country, not necessarily for the very first time, but pretty much. Like, Canada is hard to count. So we had like our first huge trip. And so I guess a worry is in my mind wanting 2024 to match or exceed this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like that's going to be so hard to do. Um, so I just want to make sure that I'm not setting myself up for disappointment and just being just as excited for every single thing that we are able to do next year, because obviously financially, time-wise, like, it's really hard to do that many things. I mean, obviously the marriage is something that like we're not going to do every single year, but yeah, so that's one thing that I'm a little bit worried about is I don't want to feel like I'm setting myself up for disappointment after like such a huge year. What about you? What's something that you're worried about?
Nothing. I'm not worried about nothing at all.
He's a free bird.
No, I guess I still think there's a possibility of a slowdown or a recession, and just kind of worry how that would affect a bunch of people. And that's probably, and just there's also so much geopolitical turmoil in the world. That worries me too, that something would pop up in the middle of the year, whether it's with China or Russia or Ukraine, whatever. That worries me of any kind of war or conflict with other countries.
Yeah, that's definitely a big worry for me too.
Yeah.
Oof.
But hopefully everything's fine. It usually is. I think all countries have interest in each other, and hopefully it'll never get to a point like that.
Yeah. And thoughts and prayers to everyone that are in a situation where that is not the case, because we're very fortunate to not be living in a situation like that at the current moment, but not everybody is in that fortunate of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely want to say that. Quick palate cleanser. Always want to do a palate cleanser after the worries, because it is like, I don't want to project my worries onto you. It's nice to say them out loud, but they are heavy. Like, so a palette cleanser is what's inspiring me right now. Right now, what's inspiring me is interviews. I know that sounds really strange, but I know Stuart's really into movies, and I've been trying to get into movies too. And I'm finding my way to get involved in that area and that artistry, because it is something that I'm interested in. And I've been really inspired by watching the actors on actors interviews. I have found that by me watching those interviews prior to going to see the movie, I enjoy it so much more, because I like to hear the buildup. I like to hear about the training that they went through to get into that movie. I like to hear or, I watched the one about Emma Stone for, I watched the one with Emma Stone for Poor Things. I love to hear how she got into character for that movie, which we just saw. And I've just been really inspired by actors' interviews, their auditions for certain roles, movies, TV, SNL auditions. I've just been watching a lot of that stuff lately and been getting really inspired by what it takes in that industry. What about you? What's inspiring you right now?
Oh, mostly nothing's really inspiring me except doing what we were just speaking about, like trying to get better at a skill. That usually inspires me. Like, it gives me an objective to get better at. So, inspiring to learn how to play the guitar and get good at it. I'm always trying to inspire, or I'm trying to do better with my finances. So that's something that excites me when I learn about stuff, when I feel like our finances are getting near our goals. That excites me. That's always a challenge for me every year. So every year I always put together what our goals are for finances for next year, like how much we want to save, how much do we want to put in certain buckets. That really inspires me to do better financially the following year.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, last two check-in questions. The first is, what's in my browser? So right now I'm looking at my computer browser and I have up a Zillow type of spinoff that's looking at properties. I have my Canva where I was creating my mood board, Pinterest, which I always typically have up, and the Real Real looking at vintage clothing that I don't need to buy. Speaking of financial goals, Stuart, what's in your browser?
Well, I'm looking now. I know my clicking's too loud, so I don't want to be too loud in my browser.
You can do it right now.
But I have my Gmail inbox up. I have Amazon up. I have a spreadsheet up with investments, of course. And then I have movies coming out.
So you can tell our taste. I'm looking at fashion and Pinterest, and he's looking at saving money, not spending it. But movies, which I did call earlier. Okay, and last question. What is today's episode all about? Which I love. So today's episode is it's our last episode of the year. We're going to be just wrapping up the things that we have done this year to get to our goals. We're going to talk about manifestation, mood boards, creating a individual list for our new year. And New Year's resolutions, I feel like people have kind of started to move away from that a little bit and do more of just things that are in and things that are out. If you're on my TikTok, you know that I just posted one of things that are in for 2024 and things that I want out of 2024. So I can go through that list with you guys, which is a little bit more of my individual level. And then we have like a bigger picture of things that we want to see as a couple. So we just wanted to walk you through that process for us.
Yep.
So we'll start off with the things that I consider to be in for 2024 for myself personally. So I'm just going to go through the list. Again, it's on my TikTok. I'm just going to quickly go through. And then Stuart, if you have anything to add for your ends, we would love to hear them. So things that you want to enter your life for 2024, things that you want to see more of.
Okay.
So for mine, my number one is savoring the small moments. I know I talked about this a little bit earlier, but we did have a lot of huge moments that, of course, are the things that in your head you're going to need to be aware of, like, your wedding day, of just like making sure you're absorbing all of those little moments, or when you're in Europe, just making the most of it and really having your brain like absorb this, try to remember this, like every detail about it. It's a little bit easier when you have big things happening, but there's so many little amazing moments in life that may be missed by scrolling on your phone or by just kind of rushing through. So savoring small moments is my number one biggest thing that I want for 2024.
And something to hit on with that is, we have a little one and she's growing up
so fast.
It's like she grows more every month, and she's in middle school, so she's getting to that age where it's just it's something new. It's a way she's acting. It's a phase she's going through, or it's something she likes right now. And
they change weekly. Yeah. So we're trying to keep up.
So I think that's one of the things that pulls at the strings on that. And, parents and grandparents and stuff, you just want to savor every moment that you have with everyone. So,
and spending those moments like with those people. Mm-hmm. I know that there was a moment, everyone was at our house for the Christmas holiday. We celebrate Christmas and they all came to our house. And there was a moment where our little one had gotten this cool light display that like shines lights all over her ceiling, like stars and stuff. And so she went into her room to set all of that up. And she's really big into like redesigning her room, like getting rid of the stuffed animals and wanting like big girl stuff. But anyways, so she was setting all of that up, and there was a ton of hustle and bustle going on in the kitchen, people making plates, people doing this and that. So I just went in there and laid in the bed with her. And then my grandmother came in and laid in the bed, and like all three of us just like laid there and talked for like 30 or 45 minutes. And that was just such a special time. She just was in her element because she was in her space, and we were laying in her bed and she was just chit-chatting about how excited she was about Santa coming and how happy she was that everyone was having a sleepover at her house. And it was just such a special little tiny moment that was not planned. It was not something that I could foreshadow happening that day, but I allowed myself to just lay there and not be rushed to go back and start cleaning or to get into the next activity that I had planned for the evening. So that's what I mean by savoring those little moments. Like that was one of my favorite moments of Christmas, and I wasn't anticipating it at all.
Yeah.
So the next thing on my list for ends is thinking hard before speaking. This is something that I have worked on in the past, and I know that I've worked on it in the extreme for the opposite, to where if I think that I'm going to say something that might be constructive or taken the wrong way, or I used to just blurt out things, like just say everything that was on my mind. I was really good at blurting things out, whether it was hurtful, whether it was constructive, not constructive, just saying it just to say it. I would blurt things out. And then when I went on the opposite end of that, whenever I would think about something and think that it could be taken the wrong way or not be 100% sure of how I wanted it to come across, I would just not say anything for a long time. Stuart knows. He's like, So it would be perceived as like the silent treatment, but that's not how I was intending it. So anyways, just thinking hard before I speak. Stuart was just talking to me about this last night, that I talk a lot, obviously. It's why I have a podcast. And I don't really want to be known for that. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, but it's definitely not a quality that I just want to be known for. It's like, oh, Shelby's always talking. Like that's just, I want to be listening and observing and absorbing. And I think that I do that, but I think that I could be more selective with the things that I choose to speak on. I don't have to contribute in every conversation. I don't have to, I feel like that's my way of connecting to people, which may not be the most appropriate. If someone's like, oh, one time I had chickens growing up and a hawk came, and then I would be like, we just had a hawk come to our, like, sometimes I can just listen and not have to try to connect with people by, speaking or sharing my same experience, which is going to be difficult for me because I've been doing it forever. But yeah, so thinking hard before speaking and really deciding when I could just be present in the moment and absorbing the information, and when it's appropriate to maybe not even give advice, but just to share anything.
I have similar to that, or
similar. Okay, I'm going to pause right here.
Similar.
I think that the way that he says that word is so funny. Please say it the way you normally say it. I doubt you even can. We may have to rewind back. Similar, like a simulation. Similar. I say it similar. He says similar. Please comment, share, and let us know who's saying it correctly. Anyways, go ahead.
I have a similar situation, but it's kind of the opposite. Like I have trouble listening, because like you, I have a point on my mind that I want to blurt out, and I'm thinking about that point while the person is speaking to me. So I'm not listening to what they're saying. So I have to figure out a way to remember what I want to say, but also listen to someone at the same time. So definitely listening is on my list of things to get better at.
And I have been listening to a lot of podcasts, and there's a couple books that I'm wanting to order about stuff like this as well. But I remember on a podcast I listened to, and I apologize, I cannot remember the podcast. I'm pretty sure it was like Whitney Port or something, because I was listening to her podcasts a lot in this past like week or two. But they were saying, like, if you take a moment, just be more comfortable with the silence where someone shares an experience, shares a story, shares an idea, shares a problem, and just take a beat and take a breath, and don't feel like you immediately have to rush into your experience. You can take what they said, take 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, like whatever it takes, and then just say, I have a similar experience to that if it's appropriate. Me and Stuart talked about this a couple weeks ago when we just felt like we were just kind of not on the same page with our communication, which happens when you're around somebody all the time. And I just said, if you just want to vent to me about something and you don't want me to be coming up with a solution, just say, I just need to get this off my chest. I just want to talk about this and I don't need a solution to it. I just need like a soundboard. And obviously be mindful if I wanted to talk about how frustrated I was with Stuart, maybe Stuart is not the best soundboard for that conversation. Maybe I just need to write that in a journal or something. But yeah, so just it's always nice to kind of give people that heads up if you know it ahead of time too. So yeah, thinking before speaking and maybe we can just categorize that as improving communication and listening skills as a whole. So the next one, which I'm sure Stuart's going to love, the third one on my in list is prioritizing savings and truly prioritizing savings. And I think, so I'm not going to get ahead of myself. So prioritizing savings is in. And for me, that means limiting my spending on material items such as clothing or jewelry or, little cooking accessories that I think that I need, and really focusing that money towards experiences and our long-term goals, which we'll talk about in just a minute. That's what that means to me. Is that something that is on your list too? Or
of course, I always, well, the older I get, the more I realize how invaluable items are that we buy on, and how quick we're to buy it on Amazon. Or
wait, does invaluable mean not valuable, or it means that it's so valuable that you can't put a dollar amount on it?
That's a good question.
Because I'm not sure actually. But anyways, it's not as important as you think it is.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Well, we find ourselves giving stuff away or throwing it away or whatever we can do with it. We don't even keep it after a year or we're not using it. So I'm with you on the saving towards a goal, saving towards traveling or, towards land or real estate or something of the future is more in my lane.
I agree. And just for all of our listeners, as well as ourselves, it's good to learn something every day. Invaluable does in fact mean valuable beyond an estimation. So the word describes something so precious that one cannot assign a price to it, which was, I think, the opposite of what you were intending.
It was.
In that moment.
I learned something today.
We learned something. Stuff like that it's like, I hate words that are like that sound like they mean one thing, but they really actually mean something else. But anyways, I think that's an amazing point, and I feel like we are on the same page with that, which makes me feel great. Another thing that's in is my daily walks. That's pretty self-explanatory. Don't need to talk too much about that. But yeah, daily walks. And then the next is setting comfortable boundaries, either with friends, either with work, or, my second job, or with our daughter, the way that we're spoken to, or things that we allow or don't allow, just being able to set comfortable boundaries and feel confident in the decision that I'm making. I feel like I've been working on that for 3 or 4 years now, and definitely in like the past 5 or 6 years. I had a job where I just did not create any boundaries, relationships where I didn't create any boundaries, friendships where I didn't create any boundaries. And I just feel like I'm getting more and more confident and comfortable with that. And just continuing that, I kind of put that on my list a lot. Anything you have with that?
The only boundaries I really have are probably with work.
Yeah.
Just setting a cutoff time and not letting it interfere with after hours or on the weekend. I tend to ruminate on issues at work, and it's hard for me to not bring it into the valuable time I have with my family and friends.
I feel like those mental boundaries are the toughest ones, which I did hear this on another podcast, and it was Whitney Port's most recent podcast. And it's the author of a book called Chatter. And he talks about that mental voice in your head. He talks a lot about ruminating. And that's definitely a book that I would love to purchase, download, listen to, read, whatever. Maybe we can listen to it together and talk about it. But I remember the author, who, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name at the moment, but you are on Waiting for the podcast. The author was just saying that humans' self-talk is so important, and it's such an individual skill that humans have that other animals obviously do not have. And it can be so helpful, but it could also be just as harmful. And anybody that says that they don't have that internal dialogue or that internal chatter, it's just simply not true. He gave the example of, if you're in a workout class and the instructor's like, get lower, 2 more sets. And you're thinking, why don't you get down here and do 2 more freaking sets? That's internal dialogue. So you do have it.
It's called Chatter, the Voice in Our Head by Ethan Kross.
Okay. Yep. So there you go. So that is something I'm definitely interested in listening to. They were talking a lot about those ruminating thoughts and how it is so crucial to learn how to cut those things off, to cut those thoughts down. And they were talking a lot about how this incorrect narrative will get into your head, something that is not true, and it will replay and replay and replay. And that is so dangerous because it causes the same stress response as if that thing had actually happened, because your brain, although it is so intelligent and so intuitive, it's almost too intelligent to know whether or not that thing actually happened to you, or you thinking about it it's going to cause the cortisol spike as if it really happened. So he was just talking about how it's important for you to stay ahead of those thoughts. And especially because we do have a child that is getting into those years where they're in the middle school, they're hearing things, they're getting worried about things. Like, I wanted to make sure that I have that under control for myself so that we can teach her the correct ways to kind of get past those pain points and stuff as well.
That must be my problem. My brain's too intelligent.
Too intelligent to know whether or not. Because that is, when you're worried about stuff with work, it's stuff that hasn't quite happened yet, but it might happen, or it might be an issue, and just trying to, be proactive. And, I'm sure after we read it, like, there is a fine line between thinking about things and moving past them, or preparing for them and then not letting it take over your whole life.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll add that to our reading list. My next thing is low impact workouts and stretching. That's something I've been implementing with my nutritionist, who was on the podcast earlier, Kat Levengood. We've been doing some more low impact things. I've been walking, been doing yoga, but I wanted to do a lot more stretching this year, get my body ready. I think that stretching is something that, when I think about older people in my life, people that never lifted weights or lifted them to the point of like horrific muscle tear, or just like overdid it, their bodies are in a lot of pain and stuff now. People that never lifted weights at all, their body is in a lot of pain right now. And people that never stretched, their body is in a lot of pain. Like, not being able to get up off the floor, not being able to bend down and put your socks on. It's just your body just locking up after years and years and years of saying, I'll stretch more next year.
Yeah.
So that's something I want to implement in like a weekly or daily practice. The next one is a big one, practicing new skills, which we talked about earlier. So I'm taking my class and practicing writing and more comedy. And, I just love practicing that skill and performing again. I haven't performed in probably close to a decade, except for I would consider doing the podcast or even TikToks a similar to performing. But yeah, so that's something that I'm definitely prioritizing. Would you say your guitar is the same?
Yep.
And prioritizing travel experiences. These are all straightforward. So journaling, spending more time in nature, dressing for myself, which I did today. I don't have anywhere to go or anyone to see, but I still wanted to get dressed just because I wanted to do it. And then reading physical books. My goal is to read 1 book per month, which is something that I don't think I have ever done in my entire life. So my goal is to try to read 1 book per month. I picked up a book that I'm about halfway through, and I started reading the physical book last night, and it felt good to put my phone down, not have the screen time, and just to have the book in my hands and flipping the pages. And I don't know, it's kind of rewarding to move through.
That's a hard one for me.
That is a hard one because it's so easy to listen to audiobooks or to have a book on a device. But I'm just trying to limit my eyes on a screen.
I get tired when I read a book. When I read a book, it's like 5 minutes in, I can just fall asleep.
Yeah, I do too. And that's why I've been reading it right before bed. It's kind of like a little melatonin without the melatonin, kind of gets me nice and relaxed. I'm able to get my eyes off of the blue light for a while, and hopefully it's a habit that sticks. Those are all of my ends. Did you have any individual ends that you wanted to add?
No, but I was going to share. I was reading on Forbes.com. They had like they did a survey or a poll on top New Year resolutions. I know we said this is just the end for 2024, but this is the resolutions. And it said the top one was improved fitness at 48%.
Isn't it always?
But it's interesting. They showed like how it changed from 2023, like the amounts. I can't find it on here now, but it did change like on the percentage. The second one is improved finances. So that came in at 38%. This is an interesting one, and I like this one. The third one's improved mental health.
Mm.
So I don't know if that's anything from anxiety or to just being happier, or
maybe going to therapy, or
not stressing, or that could be so many things.
Not overthinking. I mean, we kind of said that too. Yeah.
So I think that's a really good one. The next one is at 34% is lose weight. I like the improved fitness over the lose weight. Just me personally, I don't want to lose weight. I just want to be more fit.
I've always heard that whatever you eat is going to make you lose or gain weight. And then however you move your body is what's going to increase your fitness. Like you can eat so clean, but if you never work out, you're just going to lose weight and you're never going to be physically fit. And the reverse, like if you work out for 5 hours a day, every day of the week, but you eat McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like you will never lose weight, even though you might be physically fit.
Yep. And then it's funny, the next one's improved diet at 32%, which I really need to do, but it's so hard, especially around the holidays.
Pretty good diet, but yeah, we're very big on giving ourselves treats.
Yep.
We do a lot of treats.
The next one at 25%, which we hit on this one, make more time for loved ones. So that was a little bit of part of making the small.
Yeah, savoring the small moments.
Yeah. The next one we don't have a problem with, the 12%, is stop smoking.
Yeah, we don't vape, we don't smoke, we don't dab.
Which I'm wondering if this survey is U.S. or worldwide, because I feel like that's actually surprising that 12% are trying to stop smoking. I don't even know that many people that
we do.
Smoke.
A Juul. We know a lot of people that smoke a Juul.
Okay. So maybe they lumped that in.
And you need to, because I'm sorry, I love you all. That ish is so nasty. And you know that people can get secondhand smoke from that too. Like, let's not be ignorant. It's 2024 almost.
Yeah. I'd almost I'd rather them smoke a cigarette than a vape.
Smoke in my face. I do not want to smell your cherry pineapple dream cloud filled with God knows what.
Yeah.
Please do not vape. So gross. Tacky. Put a cigarette in your mouth and stain all your clothes.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
The next one is getting down to the smaller percentages. 9% said learn a new skill.
Did we write this list?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
The next one's 7% at make more time for hobbies. So you could
we did that because we signed up for physical lessons, which was something that was important to us.
Mm-hmm. And let's see, there's 5 more. The bottom 5 are improve work-life balance, travel more, meditate regularly, drink less alcohol, and perform better at work.
Love, 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 love.
Yeah, I think one of ours is probably we love to travel, so that would probably be on our list. We want to take at least 2 trips this year if we can afford it. Hopefully more, but
5. I'm just kidding. I did make a travel list, and there's a lot of places on there.
But that's out of all of these, I would probably say my top ones are fitness, finances, mental health is good. Learn a skill, and travel. Yeah.
I would agree. Travel might be my number 1. But okay, so my things that are out, I'll go through these quickly, and then we'll talk about how we come up with our mood boards and our goals as a couple, because these are more like our individual goals, but they all play off of each other. So things that are out for me this year, which you guys, again, saw on my TikTok, but negative self-talk, which we talked about the ruminating. We talked about just giving myself that narrative of I can't, or might as well not, or who cares, or just the negative self-talk in general is out. Excessive sugar, which we just talked about with the diet. That's probably our hardest thing with diet because we do cook a lot of meals at home. We do eat fairly clean. Even when we eat out, it's not like we're eating out a ton of burgers and fries and junk food. But the excessive sugar is a problem for us. My third one was having little to no follow through, like saying I'm going to do something, say I'm going to wake up and do a workout. And then I wake up and I'm like, I don't feel like it. I feel like there's a good balance of days where you know that your body needs the rest, but having that follow through for yourself is just going to help improve your follow through with other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm saying them as if they're out. So not holding myself to a high standard, which again goes with the follow through. If I would expect someone else to be able to stick to something, like if they told me like, oh, I'm not going to eat any sugar. And then that afternoon I saw them with a handful of mega stuffed Oreos in their mouth. I'd be like,
I
why
don't
would
know
you
who you're
lie?
talking about.
I don't know either. I'd be like, why would you lie to me? So, and I do that. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to eat so healthy. And then I'll have like 5 homemade marshmallows in my mouth. I'm like, okay. Rushing life. We're not going to rush. We're going to prioritize those little things. I don't want to rush the next experience. I don't want to rush our next chapter in life, whatever that chapter may look like, whether it's a new property, whether it's, having a different family dynamic or whatever that new chapter may be. I don't want to rush that. I just want it to come to us when it comes, and being able to accept that has been something on my mind a lot. So just not rushing life.
Yeah.
Not oversleeping, but also not overspending on material items, which I touched on. And then excessive screen time is out. We're not spending hours or even 30 minutes scrolling the TikToker or Instagram, or just we're on screens enough for work and the pod and everything. We just need more time face to face out in nature doing physical things.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you wanted to add to the out list before I talk about kind of how we make our goals, our mood boards, whatever?
The biggest thing with me is probably out with the worry.
Yeah.
I worry all the time, and there's no reason for it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't make the situation better. So getting the worry and stress out, and just having a good attitude on things. I can get a bad attitude very quickly, or just it's a bad mood almost. It's not really an attitude; it's a mood. It's just we don't have enough time on this earth to have that.
Love that response.
Mm.
There are some squirrels really going crazy out our window, and it's a little distracting, but I loved that response, and I agree. We don't have enough time to be petty or worried or just laying around scrolling. We need to be out and living the life that we're fortunate enough to have. So,
Yep.
next, I want to talk a little bit about setting goals as a couple or as a family. We started going over this like around Halloween time, I think, of just thinking of what is most important for us in our long-term goals as a couple and a family, and our short-term goals, which kind of bleeds into that next 12 months. And we just started talking about it so that we knew, most importantly, I would think, what our number 1s, 2, and 3 are, and then being able to make every other decision that were to come after that based on those goals. So we really just went through and started deciding on what our top goals were so that we knew how to spend our money, how to spend our time, what things we were going to prioritize. So just thinking about, I know we talked a little bit about us purchasing land or expanding our financial portfolio. And when you think about things like that, you do have to take into consideration things that are going on in the world, a possible recession, if one of us loses our job. So our savings goal was probably one of our number 1. Purchasing a property is high up on our list. We know that with interest rates and everything, that's so stressful, but that is something that's crucial for us to have somewhere where we can live and thrive and grow our family, and have the land and the space to where if we do have family that needs to be on the same property as us, we would still have our individual space, but be able to provide that for our family. That was something that was really important to us. And then our travel goal was something that was really, really big to us as well. We traveled a lot this past year. We went a lot of places in the past 2 years. And so we're wanting to continue that, going through the process of getting our daughter her passport and doing another international trip, and then hopefully a few trips nearby. We did a lot of trips to the beach where our family lives or to the mountains near us. But I'm kind of hoping to do a couple more trips. I'll tell you the places I want to go. I really want to go back to London, and that's somewhere that we've seen. So I wanted to go somewhere we've never been before. I really wanted to go to Edinburgh, Scotland, which is a 4-hour train ride or maybe a 3-hour train ride from London. So if we went to London, somewhere that we've been before and somewhere we know that our little one would enjoy, then we could go to Scotland on the train and just see somewhere new. Another new place I would like to go is Chicago. We've talked about that a lot. I know that that's really high up on Stuart's list. And I would really, really want to go there. I would also really like to go to Austin, Texas, which is somewhere that we've never been before. We talked about that with our family. Stuart has a sister who lives in California. So they were saying that Austin was kind of the halfway point. If we ever wanted to like meet halfway and do like a family vacay, I think that would be really, really cool. And then Ontario, Ottawa, Ontario, which is like Canada, but it's supposed to feel like you're in France. I think everybody there maybe speaks French and stuff still too. But that was a cool place that I've never been. And then places I wanted to repeat are Colorado, Utah, New York, obviously, and then London, which I've already said.
Yeah, you didn't mention Zion or
that's in Utah.
Okay.
So Zion National Park is somewhere that I would really like to go and bring our family and do like a hiking trip or something, maybe for like a spring break. I know it's really busy that time of year, but so those are places that I have been. I've already been to Colorado. I've already been to Utah. We've been to New York and we've been to London, but I would love to go back there. And Stuart's never been, right? Or maybe you have been to Utah. It's very close to Vegas, so you might have been there, but
I think it'd be kind of cool to spend a little bit of time up in like Washington State and Oregon.
Yeah,
over in that way.
Oregon.
It'd be kind of cool.
But maybe we should prioritize, and we're kind of hashing this out as we're talking to you guys, but I don't know if we should go places that we've already been or if the top of our list should be seeing things that we've never done before. Because I know Utah was high up on my list, but should we prioritize Chicago over New York just because we've been to New York the past 3 years?
You know what's interesting is we had a Uber driver. I think it was either France or London, but they all talk about the States and they're like, oh, I want to go over there so bad. And we're like, oh, we asked this one guy, we're like, well, if you were to go over there, because he had never been, we're like, where would you go? He's like, I would go to Miami. And you could just see his eyes light up, like that was Disney World to him, was Miami. And we're like, really? And
I was like, why?
But then he was like, well, you tell me where I should go. And I'm like, wow, that's a tough question to ask an American. If you were to tell someone from another country, where is the best place to go in the United States to experience America? And
every state is like a different country, which is what they said that they love about the United States. And it is like when you're in somewhere like Colorado or Utah, it's nothing like being in Miami. It's nothing like being in New York. It's nothing like
North Carolina.
Yeah, nothing like North Carolina. I mean, North Carolina, at least you get the coast and the mountains, but yeah, it's really hard to say one thing. I would say another goal I have before my 40th birthday would be to go to all of the national parks in the US, which gives us a good 10 years. So marking off some of those national parks, like 10 years to do all of them. I think there's 52 or 51 national parks. I would love to hit all of them. But yeah, so there's so many places right here in the States that we could go and visit and travel. I think that we need to, and it's a lot less expensive to travel in the States. Some states, actually. Some are just as expensive as
Yeah,
That's fun.
when we were looking at Chicago, we were like, "Good God, how
It's like
much?"
twice as much as going to New York.
Yeah, it was very expensive.
Very, very expensive. But yeah, so those are some of our travel goals. And then those goals kind of influence our financial goals. So we're going to spend a lot less on upgrading certain things. One of the things was upgrading our car. We went ahead and did that at the end of this year. So we don't have to think about that again. We're making those payments. And then yeah, so like the property is a big thing, travel is a big thing. That's where our finances are going to hopefully go for this next year. And then our littler goals are just supporting each other's individual growth. So me supporting him going to his guitar lessons, and our daughter doing her lessons, and me going to my classes, like him watching her so that I can go to my class, me making sure that there is like food and groceries and stuff on the days that he has his class. Like just making sure that you make those situations as easy as possible for the other person to truly enjoy that experience, I think is really important.
Mhm.
And then we just kind of go through what our fitness goals are and hold each other accountable. I would say that we typically go over finances about once a month anyways,
Yeah.
and just kind of review. Stuart will give me like an overview because it's like hard for me to sit and listen to all of that. He has like all these spreadsheets going on, and I'm like, my head is like swimming, and I'm like, I don't understand. I just want this new jacket. So yeah. And then for me, I wonder if I'm able to do this. So I'm going to quickly show you guys my Canva board. Um, Hopefully you're able to see this, but I
Yep,
can
I
show
can see
you
it.
a little bit about what my 2023 mood board was. So what I like to do is here in the middle where I have my cursor. If you're watching this, if you're just listening, you can go ahead and log off if you want, but I'm going to just talk you through it. So I go on to Canva. I do not think that I pay for the membership. Yeah, it says try Canva Pro. So this is the free version. And I just type in mood board or photo collage. And then I use these collages that have photos added in. And then I go on to Pinterest and I find photos that I like. And on Pinterest,
Can you do something similar to
there's
like
that word again.
similar to this on Pinterest?
Yes. So you can make a Pinterest board too, but you can't make it one photo. So I'm on Pinterest now, and you can see on Pinterest, you could make kind of like a sheet that has all of your goals on it. And these have like a bunch of like new, old, whatever. So I have like my wardrobe, and then I can like split it up between like my street style, summer, winter, autumn, whatever. And on here, you can click on these photos, and then there's this three dots, and you can download the image. So once you download the image, you can go back into Canva, and on these mood boards, you can just click a photo and just replace it with the one that you downloaded from Pinterest, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I wanted to mention is on my mood board, I had a Dior saddlebag. I had money. I had a RAV4 hybrid. This is for 2023, excuse me. A RAV4 hybrid. I had Andamillimeter lace-up boots. I had
Me too.
Europe. I bet you did. I had Europe, and I had engagement rings. All of these things happened. I got my engagement ring. I got my first designer bag. I got the Andamillimeter boots and returned them. I got my RAV4. I mean, all of these things happened, which I just think is crazy. But anyways, so I'll make this board. I'll add quotes. I'll add colors. Look at how crazy the transition is from last year's mood board. It's kind of dark and moody and whatever. And then this year is just like flowers and farms and textures and bread and, family, and just, it's just changed so much. So I'm working on my travel one right now. I try to find a quote that I like. So this one says, travel as much as you can, as far as you can, for as long as you can. Life is meant to be lived in, life is not meant to be lived in one place. And so that's just kind of what I'm going to keep like my little mantra for traveling. And then I have others for like, I put like a quote on here of slow living is like taking time for like those little moments, and pictures of farms, and like just kind of leaving that city life and going into more of like a rural area and like building a home versus a house is something that's really important to me in 2024. But I'll use this. And then I don't know if you noticed, once I went into my Google, my daughter had put this on our, the background of my computer. So I'm able to see it as the background of my computer. And that's why I like using Canva. I can make it my screensaver, and just kind of, that's what I did last year, and had these things so that they can be in the background when I'm doing certain things, and I can just subliminally be reminded of them. And I really enjoyed that. So I'm going to stop sharing. And so I use the Notes app on my phone to go through these lists. And then I use Pinterest and Canva. And that's how I make my manifestation boards.
Nice.
Okay. So sad that this is our last episode, but I've loved it. Quick bachelor update. Our bachelor is traveling this last week of December. Obviously, they had holiday stuff, and then he's traveling. He took the week off of work. But when he gets back, he has not one, but two of his final dates. And we're going to be able to get him back on the podcast and get an update of all 3 dates, if there will be second dates for any of them, or the one that he's choosing to have a second date with. And kind of, we're not going to do worst and best. Like, all of these women are amazing. And I'm sure that they are going to have a million dates, whether it's with him or anybody else. But just excited to get our check-in with our lovely bachelor, Andrew. So we sent him some date requests of places that he can take the final 2 girls, since the first was virtual and the next 2 will be in person. So we're really excited to hear about how they went.
Yep.
We hope you guys have an amazing end of your year. We're so excited to be a part of it. We hope that you've enjoyed listening. If you have anything that you want to hear more or less of, please let us know for this upcoming year. If you wanted to see more special guests, or if you just like these kind of check-ins, chit chats, we'll make it happen for you guys. We appreciate the love and listening. We got our end of year report, and I was just blown away to know that we were in 7 countries, and we had like over 500 or 600 downloads and streams, and 750. And I know that those don't seem like huge numbers, but I can't imagine doing a speech or talking for an hour in front of 700 people, or in 7 different countries. So it's just kind of crazy to me to think that we're talking to that many people every time. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for all of your support, and we will see you next year.
See ya.
Bye.